morning, good morning. How is everyone on this delightful Saturday? Oh, I need the milks. How art thou, fiancé?
How art thou, fiancé?
How art thou, fiancé? Fiancé? Oh no, my hand. Oh yeah, I need to go to Target today. I forgot about that.
You want strawberry mimosas?
Whoa!
We could.
We could.
You want to?
Sure.
Yeah.
Are you making them?
Yeah.
Whoa, so exciting.
You?
Sure. You don't want to save it for a Sunday brunch? It doesn't matter to me. Good morning.
With Sunday breakfast, you usually go somewhere else.
That's true. Go for it, babe. Good morning, good morning. Yes, indeed.
Using those strawberries.
Whoa! Are you going to mash them up?
I was going to.
Oh.
So they get like a juice.
You're right.
You're right. Yeah.
Here, let me get you the thing.
Good idea.
Yeah. Here's your thing.
Exciting.
Very exciting. What's everyone up to this morning? How's everyone feeling? Are we all feeling good?
You know what's funny?
What?
It's just now you were telling me about the, what's that series called that you're looking at in YouTube?
Who the F did I marry?
Who the F Did I Marry? You are always turning on this camera and talking to it, but because I can't stand in front of it, I can't see any of it.
So I could just be talking into the ether? That's really funny.
Nobody, and being like,
They're there.
You could be like, oh, and then Becca says.
Oh my gosh, he's trying to claim I'm making up everything you guys are saying to me. You know it's not true.
Did I marry right now, everyone?
It's not true. It's not true. Oh my gosh, you can't have coffee? Oh my gosh, I'm very sorry. That's really awful. No, will you all tell him that you're real? You're not a figment of... I know, right, Brittany? Brittany said ouch.
What?
She said ouch. She's offended that you hurt her feelings.
How did I hurt her feelings?
Because you said she's not real. She's so real.
Yeah.
We know she's real. She drew a painting for Autumn of Memphis. That's how real she is.
A joke about
Grace says, I'm a figment of your imagination, reporting for duty.
That's funny.
Oh, Grace.
Not my imagination, yours.
Yes, mine. Yes, she's they're all very real. Who do you think I'm mailing slime to all the time if they're not real? You think I'm just mailing slime into that's the crazy part?
I mean, the craziest for sure, because it's a lot of work.
It's so much work.
We just take it to this mailing facility, and like the USPS people get it, and like,
again?
Just like, okay, into the trash.
No, all my babies in the trash. But how do you think I'm paying the bills? You think I pay
part of this would have to be like you're independently wealthy.
Yeah.
Like crazy / independently.
Crazy and independently wealthy.
Well, obviously, from some sort of trust fund or something.
From who? You've met my mother.
From some great aunt.
All my great aunts are dead.
Exactly.
Oh. Wow.
There's a lot of flaws in this because I've literally seen your streams.
There's literally so many. Yeah. Yeah, and you see them talking to me, right?
Right now?
No. Yes, you can see it.
That's too much of a glancing angle. Ow!
Don't burn yourself. I made you coffee, though. Yes, on Zoom, too. Well, he didn't see the Zoom. That's what he's basically saying is because he can't get on camera, that there's no proof that you're all there, but he has joined the lives from like a hidden account and seen all the like comments. I mean, so he knows you're all there.
But you know what's fun? It took me until not that long ago to do that. I'd never joined them like for months and months.
Yeah.
Never joined them before we moved in together.
That's true.
Of course, there is literally the public TikTok that I can't look at.
And you can see all the comments and all the views and everything there, right?
If any of you, the rest of you, are watching that thing, this lady's an idiot, right? Not Sasha. The who the F did I marry person is an idiot.
I don't know if she's an
I
idiot.
listened to one episode with Sasha, and I think she is.
I will give
dumb.
proof of funds, Maddie. I will give proof of funds. I am not Legion. I will give proof of funds.
Legion.
I will show proof of funds. I pay half the
I would
bills.
never call you Legion. I'd call you Rainbow.
Thank you.
Rainbow Bright.
But.
It's not. It was a joke.
I can show proof of funds. You really do, Grace. If I was doing this all into the ether, I would have some serious questions about my sanity. It'd be awful.
It would be funny for about 2 seconds, and then it'd be like, oh, beans.
Yeah, it's too much work.
It's too much work.
Oh, Lee said maybe he's imaginary and that's why you don't exist to him. Oh no, did I imagine you?
See?
Oh no, that might be worse. I don't know. Oh
They
God.
can't hear me, though.
Yeah, they can hear you. Yeah. You guys can hear him, right? It's not just me. Yikes! It's all a lot. I assure you, I have 60 Rainbow Slime Girl slimes in my house. 60! Oh my gosh, that's amazing, actually. And I just sent you more. Oh, Grace, don't do that. That's not funny. That's not funny.
Like you said.
Hear who?
I like it.
Ah!
This is called...
Gaslighting.
Is this gaslighting, or is this worse?
It's worse. Oh my goodness. My oh my. My oh my. Definitely worse. Worse for sure.
Okay.
Boop boopy doop. So, in case anyone's new here, this is Book Club. Hi, I'm Sasha. I also wrote a book. It's called The Prince of Oregon. It's the only thing on the internet called The Prince of Oregon, so you can search it anywhere and you'll end up on a page that involves it. Do you ship
Unless
slime
search
internationally?
for
Not
videos on
right
TikTok,
now.
Then you end up with some guy that goes to the University of Oregon.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. Huh.
If you search videos, not users.
Interesting. Well,
Maybe it's changed, though.
maybe it's changed now that I've made so many videos.
Yeah. This was like a week ago.
Yeah, well, it's only been out a week. Not even a whole week. I have the hiccups. I got Becca enters to confusion. Good morning, Becca. Secret fiance believes that you might be a figment of my imagination.
That sounds
You
very
specifically.
pointed towards her specifically.
You did use her as the example, and she wasn't even in the room yet.
It's
Adds to the credence of it.
Who I think of when I think of you
I know.
following or whatever.
Yeah. I have the first desk in my office, and I've had your book on display. Oh, that's so cute, Grace. Thank you.
Do you think that without any liquid, this will...
You know I don't know.
Well, something like that. It'll juice itself for a little bit, and then who knows, right?
Yes?
Okay, let's try it out.
We're doing a non-smoothie dance. We're doing a strawberry mimosa dance today.
Strawberry mimosa dance.
Does anyone want to do a strawberry mimosa dance? And how does that vary from smoothie dance?
Is it dip salsa setting? Maybe that's kind of like
Yeah, Becca, that's what I asked also.
What?
She said, I wonder who you sent all those packages to.
Oh, the ether.
He claims that we have just been sending them into the ether and the postal people are putting them in the trash. Now, this all being said, do I believe the postal people would put my... Claire's here! You guys, it's Saturday, which means Claire's here. Hi, Claire. Claire, you missed it. And yes, of course, we've also had lunch. Yes. Yes, it's true.
There's an extreme amount of flaws.
There's so many flaws in this
But
because
Sasha's obsessed with this who the F did I marry thing.
it's true. Well, I'm gonna finish it.
There was a
soon.
point when
Probably
we were
today.
talking where it definitely could have been made up because I had no evidence.
That's true. That's true. So to anyone who was saying that they ordered my book and they're waiting to get it, if you ordered it from me, the first 20 have been mailed out, and then supposedly tomorrow another 35 are coming in the mail, so the next 35 will get mailed out, and then so on from there. Unfortunately, the app that sends me my copies of the book to sign and mail to you all has been slow as a bucket of molasses poured on a winter day, so it's rough. Oh, Becca, because we were talking about who the F did I marry and how the person... So, if any of you aren't watching Who the F Did I Marry...
Because it's frustrating and she's just too dumb.
You should watch it because then we can talk about it.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, they said authors cannot have copies of their own work. Yeah, it's weird. Oh, Brittany, let's track it then. Will you message me so that I look for it? You can purchase my book. Well, you know what? Hold on one second. I'll show you.
What do you think we should do with ratios?
What? So I haven't been adding it here because TikTok gets mad if I'm not talking about, but we are talking about the book right now, so I just added it here. You can purchase it right there, but I have to warn you, if you purchase it there, it is a pre-order, and it may not ship until like March 2nd. So there you can get it, or if you want it quickly, you can get it on Kindle or the app that sounds like a rainforest or any of those places.
The normal shipping when you buy the book is fast.
Yeah, and that's the thing. People who have been buying it on the other app, they get theirs in a day. So if you want it really fast, get it either over there or whatever, or you can download it on Kindle Unlimited also. If you want a signed version, like in, thank you, Brittany, like with, yeah, Nessa got hers from me really fast as soon as I got it in.
I think the ratio should be.
That's pretty good. So, but if you've seen the videos, Kindle Unlimited apparently also has a free trial. I didn't know that. If you've seen the videos and you want the ones that I do with all the like fancy stuff that goes with them, it is going to be a couple of days until I get copies back in to send back out. So I apologize about that, but I am working on it. That's why it says pre-order instead of just like order. You know. I hope you love it. I also... So at the suggestion of my friend Liz, who is in here right now, I did make a Goodreads account. If any of you are on Goodreads, I have been adding all of our book club books to Goodreads. If we want to, like, you know, have a book club playlist or whatever like that. Good morning to your spicy. We don't, oh, because of, okay, so Who the F Did I Marry is this series that's been going on. Yes, please, Kristen, please do. Why your town, it's only morning, and in my country, well, time zones. So Who the F Did I Marry is the series here on TikTok where this woman married someone and he was a pathological liar. So Secret Fiance posited the question, what if I was just talking into the ether all this time? Because this guy talks on the phone a lot and pretends to have conversations, and he was really talking to no one the whole time. So he would do one of these to this woman, right? He would like, okay, so he would be like, yeah, no, that's cool. No, really? Huh. Oh, hey, babe.
Yeah?
Yeah, Jeremy says hi.
Tell Jeremy to go F himself.
Did you hear what he said? He said you should go F yourself. Okay, no, but anyway, so apparently the guy was like doing that to her all the time, and she thought he was having conversations, but it was really nobody. And just so that TikTok doesn't ding me, I wrote a book. It's called The Prince of Oregon. Maybe you want to buy it. There is none of this in it. There's no gaslighting. My book is full of zero gaslighting. Actually, that's not true. That's not true. There is gaslighting in my book. It's just not intimate partner gaslighting. So, yeah, there is gaslighting in the book now that I think of it. Huh. You ready to see the most amazing magic trick? 1, 2, 3. Strawberry mimosa! Thank you. I'm very excited. Whoa.
I haven't tasted it yet.
It's quite good.
Yeah?
You want to taste it?
Well, I have one right here.
Oh, great. Enjoy. One of my friends works at a winery, and for our engagement, she gave us a bottle of Prosecco to celebrate, and we decided to use it to make strawberry mimosas this morning. Delightful. Happy engagement to us. Thank you, Autumn.
Hey, that's not bad.
What do you mean not bad? I think it's pretty good.
Yeah. Nice.
Yes, Gaslight is the gasoline. So we are going to do that series. I was thinking of maybe doing it with the, can we have the recipe? It's literally just blended strawberries and Prosecco. There's no recipe.
Oh, yeah, that's not
Sasha,
good.
let me come by and have one and then leave. Yeah, you can get, do they do that? Not yet, Lori. I'm going to do it today because I've been, so I have 2 boxes of glitters that I have to open on camera, and I haven't had a chance yet because I've been packing orders, but I promise I will. Did she send you the pics of the, she did, and I will, oh, she also posted them on her Instagram as well, Brittany. Yeah, definitely do it today. So, shall we read? In case anyone did not know, Ghostiania says, good job. All the ghosts are telling you did a good job.
Yeah. Ghosts now? Haunted? I know it. There's a twist.
So 2 things. The first thing I wanted to tell you all was if anyone needs them, all of the previous days of this book are uploaded. So it is caught up. I just need, obviously I'll have to do today's after this, but other than that, we are caught up on the use of tubes. And then what else do I need to tell you all?
I'll tell them to buy your book before you get another violation.
I wrote The Prince of Oregon. Should I just take it off? No. Has everyone had a chance to click on it if they wanted to click on it? Should I take the little billboard thing down so they don't ding me? Because if I go on to doing something else, they claim that I'm false advertising, which I don't know how. My entire existence is an advertisement for this book. I wrote it. I don't know why they keep doing it. I literally got a violation and they won't take it away. I appealed it and they still, they upheld the violation. Because they're jerks. Yeah, I was like, you guys, it's my book. Let me see if I can take it off. How do I take it off? Can't take it off. Okay. All right, it's off now so that I won't get a violation. Now let's read. We are on chapter 4 of book 6 of The Land of Stories. In case you don't know, this is the most fun series that we've had so far, and I'm going to be depressed when it's over. TikTok is tripping, it's true. All right, chapter 4 is called A Subconscious Surprise. Ooh, the first word tells me we might be doing something fun today, voice-wise. Arthur was having a most interesting dream. He started out as a small ant crawling on the ground. Blades of grass towered over him like trees, and patches of dirt stretched into the horizon like enormous canyons. It was a very unique perspective, but Arthur figured he wouldn't get very far at an ant's pace. So the future King of England grew long legs and began hopping across the land as a grasshopper. He landed on the roots of an evergreen tree and marveled at all the branches stretching into the air. Arthur wanted to climb to the branches, but he knew it was an ambitious journey to make as a grasshopper, so he grew 4 claws and a furry tail and scurried up the tree as a squirrel. Once he reached the very top of the tree, Arthur stared in awe at all the fluffy clouds in the sky. He desperately wanted to fly through the clouds above, so his tiny arms grew into a pair of magnificent wings
and he soared into the sky as an eagle. Without a doubt, Arthur's dream had been inspired by Merlin's theatrical teaching methods. Recently, the wizard had been transforming the young squire into a variety of creatures to teach him lessons on greatness and gratitude. Oppression is a sport for the small-minded. Empathy is the path to true power, Merlin lectured. A great leader respects all walks of life, otherwise we will walk all over them. Ain't that the truth, Mother Goose agreed. It's just like I told my old friends during the Boston Tea Party. Tyranny is a revolution's welcome mat. Arthur was reminded of his elder's wise words as he flew above the land that they were training him to rule one day. The flight made him very thirsty, and he descended towards a small lake. As soon as his claws touched the ground, they transformed into hooves, and Arthur galloped the rest of the way to the water as a horse. When he arrived at the lake, Arthur found a young woman standing alone along the shore. She wore a white dress and had a long strawberry blonde hair and stood with her back to him. Arthur transformed back into his human self upon seeing the young woman. At first he worried that she might be one of the mists of Avalon that Merlin always warned him about, but there was something very familiar about her. Eventually, the young woman heard him approaching and turned around. "Alex," Arthur said with a big smile. "It's so good to see you." "Arthur," she said, "is that you?" Alex was much more surprised to see him than he was to see her. In fact, Arthur wasn't rattled at the slightest. Alex made regular appearances in his dreams. "Of course it's me," Arthur said. "Who else would it be?" Alex looked around the lake completely disoriented. She seemed to be afraid of her surroundings. "Where am I?" "Oh, you're in my dream," Arthur said. "I know it's a dream because it's the only place that I get to see you. And now that I know I'm dreaming, I imagine I'll wake up soon." Whenever Arthur realized he was dreaming, he immediately returned to consciousness. He could feel his mind's clarity returning by the second, but oddly this time he didn't wake up. "I must be more tired than I thought," he said. "I'm grateful for every second I get to spend with you, even if it isn't real." For the first time, Arthur noticed that Alex looked very different than she normally did when he dreamt about her. Her face was much paler, her eyes were red like she'd been crying, and she blinked frantically, like something was deeply troubling on her mind. "This is so strange," she said. "I thought this was my dream, but maybe I stumbled into yours?" "So I'm dreaming of you, dreaming of me?" Arthur asked. "Well, I'm afraid to look up what this means in Merlin's dream dictionary." "No, I mean we're both asleep," Alex said. "Just a minute ago I was dreaming of my hometown, and then suddenly I found myself at this lake. I think we're communicating in our sleep." "So it really is you?" he asked softly. "Yes," she said. It really is me." Arthur didn't know which possibility was more overwhelming, that he and Alex were connected subconsciously, or that he was standing in front of the real Alex and not a figment of his imagination. "But how is this possible?" "I don't know," Alex said. She struggled to think of an explanation. "When my brother and I were little kids, we used to see each other in our dreams all the time. We would wake up the next day and recite everything we'd done and everything we said. No one believed us, so we stopped mentioning it. We figured it was just a twin thing and other people didn't understand. I was hoping it still worked, and I tried contacting him now, but it looks like my dreams led me to yours." The two shared a small but very telling smile. "If this is real, it's no mystery why it's happening," Arthur said. "We probably spend so much time thinking about each other that our subconscious minds are trying to tell us something." "Arthur, please don't start this again. It was hard enough the first time," Alex said. "We both agreed that living separate lives was the responsible thing to do. You have a destiny to fulfill, and you can't jeopardize it by running off with the first girl that you meet in the woods." "I'm not jeopardizing anything," he said with a playful grin. "I plan on fulfilling everything my destiny to-do list. I'm going to pull the sword from the stone. I'm going to start Camelot. I'm going to form the Knights of the Round Table. I'm going to find the Holy Grail. And once I'm done, I'm going to find you. And you won't have any more excuses to keep us apart." "Arthur, I might not be around by the time you do it all," she said quietly. "Of course you'll be around," Arthur said with a laugh. "I've been training twice as hard with Merlin and Mother Goose so that I can finish much faster than the legend predicts. It may have taken another King Arthur a few decades to complete his legacy, but I know it'll only take me a couple of years because I've got you to inspire me." Arthur's devotion brought tears to Alex's eyes, but not in a good way. "No," she said and shook her head. Even if you finish it earlier than expected, you have to stay in Camelot. You'll throw your life away if you do it all for me. You can't throw a life away if it's already fulfilled. You're not listening. I'm trying to tell you, it'll be a complete waste. If you rush through your legacy, you might get hurt. Naisa? Is that correct? Naisa? 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 Naisa. Huh. Cool. On the contrary, I'll be even more careful knowing you're at the finish. Arthur, I am trying to tell you I won't be alive much longer. Once this heavy confession was made, Alex covered her face and began to sob. Her words made Arthur freeze where he stood. He prayed she was being sarcastic or overreacting, but if the tears streaming down her face were any indication, Alex was telling the truth. Alex, please tell me that's a joke, he said. I wish it were, she cried. I would love to live happily ever after with you, Arthur, but it is not meant to be. But why? Are you sick? I've been cursed by a powerful witch. She has me under a spell that controls my every waking moment. So far, she's made me do a lot of terrible things to innocent people. I don't know what she has planned, but I know something horrible is coming. Thousands of people are going to get hurt. The witch puts me to sleep when she isn't using me, and that's why I was trying to contact my brother in my dreams. He's got to find a way to stop me, no matter what it takes. Alex, don't be ridiculous, Arthur said. There's got to be another way to free you from the witch's curse besides killing you. I'm afraid there isn't, she said. This curse is unlike any dark magic I've ever seen or heard of. It fills me with so much anger it blinds me. I'm barely aware of the damage I'm causing. I get trapped inside my head with feelings of self-doubt, self-hatred, and regret. All I can think about are my mistakes, my flaws, and how undeserving I am of love and happiness. The more my misery grows, the more powerful I become. And the more powerful I become, the stronger the curse gets. The voices in my head have stopped. There's only one way to put a creature out of this misery. Arthur couldn't believe he was hearing such things. Their shared dream had quickly escalated into a nightmare. I refuse to believe that, he said. There must be something Merlin and Mother Goose can do to help. There must be something I can do to save you. A thick layer of mist suddenly rose off the lake and blew towards them. The mist formed the shape of a large hand and wrapped its fingers around Alex's body and started pulling her towards the lake. What's happening? Arthur shouted. The witch must be waking me up, Alex said. Arthur grabbed Alex's arm, but it was no match for the giant, misty hand. Alex, you need to listen to me, he said. We're going to save you from this. We're going to find you and free you from this curse. I promise. You just have to stay strong a little longer. Don't give up yet. Alex stared up at Arthur with eyes full of tears and fear, but very little hope. Goodbye, Arthur. Alex was pulled from Arthur's grip and dragged underwater, and she disappeared from sight. Alex! Arthur rapidly woke up from his nightmare. He was sweating profusely, and his eyes darted all around his room as he remembered where he was. His heart was beating so hard he could hear it over the sound of Merlin and Mother Goose snoring in the next room. Arthur had never been so affected by a dream in his life, so he knew that this hadn't been a normal dream. Alex was in trouble, and she needed help. The squire leapt out of bed and stormed into Merlin and Mother Goose's room. His elders awoke in a terrible fright and sat straight up like they'd been electrocuted. Arthur, what is it, my boy? Merlin asked and reached for his glasses. Where's the fire? Mother Goose said and reached for her flask. Forgive the intrusion, but something terrible's happened, Arthur announced. Have the Saxons arrived? Merlin asked. Are the parachute pants back in style? Mother Goose asked. No, it's Alex, Arthur said. She's been cursed by a terrible witch, and we need to go to the other wood immediately to rescue her. How do you know all of this? The wizard asked. Alex and I were communicating with each other in our sleep. She was trying to contact her brother, but found me instead. She's told me she's been cursed and being forced to do terrible things. And there's a hand made of mist, and it rose out of the lake, and it dragged her under the surface. Arthur explained himself so quickly that he had to catch his breath afterwards. Merlin and Mother Goose looked at each other with sleepy, uneasy eyes, but they weren't concerned about Alex. Addie, have you been drinking my bubbly? Mother Goose asked. No, you have to listen to me, he pleaded. Alex is in trouble, and she thinks the only way to stop the curse is if somebody kills her. We've got to do something before she gets hurt. It sounds like you just had a terrible nightmare, Merlin said. It wasn't just a nightmare, it was the real Alex, Arthur said. I swear I am not overreacting. His elders still weren't convinced. It's not uncommon for dreams to feel very realistic when they're about the people that we love, the wizard said. Why don't you fetch my dream dictionary? And we can get to the bottom of what Alex really represented in your dream. Arthur grunted loudly and paced in a circle. No matter what he said, Merlin and Mother Goose only saw him as a love-struck teenager, and Arthur desperately needed their trust, that they would never take him seriously unless he proved himself trustworthy. A transformation was needed to gain their respect, and luckily, Arthur knew just the thing to do it. The squire raced out of Merlin's cottage and ran into the woods. It was raining and still dark outside, but Arthur persisted. He wasn't wearing any shoes and was barely clothed, but he was numb to everything except the fury of his determination. Finally, he arrived at his destination and entered a clearing where the great sword lay in the stone. Arthur was destined to remove the sword once his training was complete, and he was ready to be crowned the King of England. But given the circumstances, he hoped his desire to save Alex would somehow expedite his destiny. Arthur might not have been in any danger, but if Alex was in trouble, then his whole world was at stake. So the young squire wrapped his hands around the sword's handle and pulled on it with all his might. His fingernails bled and blisters covered his palms, but Arthur kept pulling as if his life depended on it. Hi, Mabel. Chapter 5. Turbulence ahead. As soon as Connor had an inkling of his sister's whereabouts, he rushed to the nearest computer and bought the 5 remaining tickets on the next flight to New York City. He used Bob's credit card without asking, but Bob couldn't care less. All that mattered to anyone was finding Alex and bringing her home. Liberating the fairy tale world would have to wait until they figured out what was happening in Manhattan. At 5 o'clock the next morning, without any sleep whatsoever, Connor, Bree, Jack, Goldilocks, Red, and Charlotte piled into Charlotte's SUV and headed to the Willow Crest International Airport. Connor had no idea what to expect when they got to New York, but he knew it'd be easier to handle with his friends at his side. They left the hospital in such a hurry that no one had any chance to pack, but knowing what his friends usually carried on their persons, Connor managed to grab a duffel bag before they left the hospital so Jack and Goldilocks' more questionable belongings could be stowed. I'm sorry. How are they going to get on an airplane? They don't have IDs. When they arrived, Connor ran into the airport, checked their bags while his friends waited outside. They stood on the curb by Charlotte's car and took their first sights of the other world beyond the halls of St. Andrew's Children's Hospital. So this is what they call an airport, Jack said as he cradled Hero. What exactly is a port of air? Well, it's where you board planes to take them to other locations, Bree explained. Like a stable? Goldilocks asked. Yeah, but with much bigger horses. Jack and Goldilocks nodded around, looking around in awe, but Red wasn't as impressed. Well, it's rather colorless in the other world, isn't it? She remarked. If you ask me, the whole gray and glass thing is a little bit overdone. As soon as he finished inside, Connor emerged through the airport's automatic doors and joined his friends at the curbs. The bags have been checked under my name, he said. Apparently it's completely legal to travel with a sword and an axe as long as it's checked. That's America for you. What's checked? Jack asked. It means they'll stow our luggage under the plane before we leave, and when we arrive, we'll collect it at a conveyor belt and baggage claim. Connor's friends from the fairy tale world stared at him like he was speaking in tongues. We have absolutely no idea what any of that means, but we're going to take your word for it, Goldilocks said. Does everyone have their tickets and IDs? Connor asked the group. Bree, Jack, Goldilocks, and Red held up their tickets that they had printed at the hospital and the identification cards they'd been assigned. Unfortunately, traveling with friends from another dimension meant that airport security would be a challenge. If they had more time, Connor would have come up with better IDs that resembled his friends more, but given their time crunch, they had to work with what they had. Do you think someone's going to notice these aren't our actual identities? Jack asked. Well, I'm praying the TSA officers won't notice, Connor said. We'll get in serious trouble if we're caught. So if anyone asks, Jack is Dr. Robert Gordon. Goldilocks is Charlotte Gordon. Red is Bree's cousin Amanda Campbell. Bree, you wouldn't happen to have a more... Bree, you wouldn't happen to have a more attractive relative to impersonate, would you? Red asked. Sorry, that's all I've got, Bree said. Amanda's ID has gotten me into dozens of concerts that I was too young for, so I hope it brings you the same luck. Connor nervously eyed the airport. We're gonna need more than luck to pull this off, he said. Connor, this is too risky, Charlotte said from inside the car. Why don't Bob and I just come with you? I need you guys to keep an eye on the characters from my short stories, he said. Besides, the 5 of us have a long history of magical dilemmas. We'll know what to do if things get out of hand, and we'll call you if we need backup. Charlotte closed her eyes and let out a long sigh. She knew Connor and his friends were more than capable of handling themselves, but that didn't make it any easier for that knowing her son might be walking into danger. Please be safe, she said. If you find your sister, please let us know as soon as possible. We will, Connor said. I promise. Connor hugged his mother through the car window and led his friends into the airport. At first glance, Jack, Goldilocks, and Red were completely overwhelmed. Travelers brushed and bumped into them from all directions. Everywhere they looked was another flashing screen that displayed departure times and announced delays. The commotion was all too much for Hero, and he began to fuss. Here, give him to me, Goldilocks said and took the newborn from Jack. There, no need to cry. Who's Mama's good boy? Who is Mama's good boy? It tickled everyone to watch Goldilocks interact with her son. Ever since Hero had been born, Goldilocks had been a different person altogether. The infamous fugitive and swashbuckling woman was now the queen of baby talk and changing diapers at record-breaking speed. However, motherhood hadn't softened Goldilocks one bit. On the contrary, being a mother had made her tougher than ever, especially when someone came between her and her child. Goldie, are you sure taking Hero to New York is a good idea? Red asked. Babies need a lot of attention, you know. We're still taking you, aren't we? Goldilocks snapped. Red raised her hand defensively. I'm just suggesting that you leave him with Charlotte while we're gone. Caring for an infant and searching for a friend is quite a handful. Absolutely not, Goldilocks said. I refuse to be one of those women who puts her entire life on hold because she's a mother. I am more than capable of fulfilling my responsibilities to my child without abandoning him to friends. Without abandoning friends. Sorry I asked, Red said. Personally, I would have hired a nanny before I purchased a cradle. Connor guided his friends through the crowded airport to the long security line. He stood on his toes to see over all the heads and took a good look at the security officers working the front. The officer was an older man who scowled at all the travelers as if a piece of sour candy were stuck in his mouth. He thoroughly checked every person's ID and tickets before allowing them to pass. Ah, crap. He's good at his job, Connor bemoaned. Bree and I will be fine with our student IDs, but I don't know if we're sneaking you guys past him. It'd be so much easier if Alex were here. She could just zap him with a magic spell and be done with it. Looks like we'll have to zap him with a bit of your magic instead, Jack said. Connor sighed. Jack, I appreciate the sentiment, but this isn't the time for another pep talk. Oh, I'm being serious. We don't have your sister's talents with us, but you can use your own. Imagine this is one of your stories and your characters were in this exact predicament. What would you do or tell them to get past the officer? Connor scratched his chin and walked in a circle as he thought about it. He appreciated the encouragement, but the consequences of failure were much more severe than his friends could imagine. It took creativity just to survive the other world. He'd need a stroke of genius to manipulate it. I've got an idea, he said. If the officer notices your IDs are fake, you need to distract him. Say something completely unexpected to make him forget what he was thinking about. Oh, I know, Red said. I'll say I'm a queen in another dimension. No. That'll only make things worse, Connor said. I've got a line for each of you, but you have to say it exactly as I tell you. He whispered the diversions to his friend's ears, hoping that would do the trick. We shouldn't stand together in the line, Bree said. If he notices the IDs are fake, it's going to look less suspicious if we're all spaced out. Great idea, Connor said. All right, here goes nothing. Connor and Bree entered the line first. Once 5 passengers had lined up behind them, Jack followed. Goldilocks waited for 6 passengers to line up behind her husband and then joined the line with Hero. Red was a little confused about how the line worked. She let over a dozen people cut in front of her before realizing she was supposed to wait behind them and follow them to the officer. Finally, after 40 very anxious minutes, Connor, Bree reached the front of the line and presented their tickets and identifications to the TSA officer. He read their boarding passes and looked them up and down with the same scowl he'd worn all morning. Are you two together? The officer asked. What? Connor said in shock. No, we're just friends. Well, at least I think that's all we are. We haven't really had the chance to figure it out. Sir, I'm asking if you're traveling together, the officer said and then scowled even harder. The airline isn't concerned with your relationship status. Connor blushed hard. He was afraid his cheeks would melt off. Obviously, his anxiety was getting the best of him. If Bree hadn't been equally anxious, she would have burst out laughing. Yes, we're traveling together, she said. The TSA officer looked them up and down one last time and initialed their tickets. Now go ahead, he said. Next! Connor and Bree walked past the officer and joined the smaller line for the metal detector. They took their time putting their shoes and belts into the bin so they could keep an eye on their friends. After a few moments, Jack was next in line and he handed his ticket to the identification to the TSA officer. Good morning, Jack said cheerfully. I'm going to New York. The TSA officer read Jack's documents before looking at him. When the officer's gaze moved up and down Jack, repeating As the officer's gaze moved upward, Jack repeated Connor's suggested line before the officer could notice that the ID wasn't legitimate. Hair plugs, Jack announced. Excuse me? The officer said. Hair plugs, Jack repeated. I'm sure you're wondering how I got my hair back. I see you're in a follicle challenge yourself, so I'm happy to pass along my doctor's information if you're interested in getting plugs. Technically, he's not a real doctor and he works out of a kitchen in Chinatown, but as you can see, his work is wonderful. The TSA officer was so offended that his mouth fell open. He shook his head as he initialed Jack's ticket and handed the documents back to Jack without giving the ID a second glance. That's genius. That was funny. Good job, Connor. I'm not interested in hair plugs, the officer growled. Get out of here. Suit yourself, Jack said. Connor and Bree were relieved when Jack joined them in line for the metal detector, but their mission was far from over. Before they knew it, Goldilocks and Hero were stepping into the TSA officer's stand. The officer looked back and forth between Goldilocks and Charlotte's ID, meticulously studying both faces. Ma'am, have you recently lost weight? He asked. Obviously, Goldilocks said and nodded to Hero. The TSA officer wasn't convinced. He knew something was different, he just couldn't put his finger on it. Did you also change your facial structure? He pressed further. Goldilocks glared at him with a scowl that rivaled his own. You would be amazed how much a body can change after giving birth. Should I give you the details? The TSA officer looked like he was going to be sick. He quickly initialed the ticket before she had a chance to elaborate. Have a nice flight, he said without looking Goldilocks in the eye. With Connor, Bree, Jack, and Goldilocks successfully past the officer, there was only Red left. They tried to stay close in case they needed to intervene, but they were herded towards the metal detector by the other TSA officers. Soon they were out of earshot and prayed that Red could handle herself. Red sauntered up to the TSA officer and presented her ticket and Amanda Campbell's ID with a large smile. The officer scanned her documents, initialed her ticket, and handed them back without a problem. Connor was shocked that it had gone so smoothly, but then the officer said something that absolutely infuriated Red. She stomped her foot and pointed at him dramatically. How dare you, sir? She yelled loudly for the entire airport to hear. That is the biggest insult I have ever received in my life. The officer's scowl shifted into a look of terror. Red stormed past him and joined her friends at the metal detector. What the heck just happened? Connor asked. What did he say to you? Red held up the ID of Amanda Campbell. He said this was a good picture of me, she grumbled. The metal detector was a very foreign concept to Connor's friends, so it required a great deal of supervision and reassurance. Connor had to promise Jack that he would get his boots back after they were scanned. Bree had to stop Goldilocks from putting Hero into one of the bins, and Red had to be scanned by hand because she refused to part with her jewelry. But once they were through the detector and had gathered their things, they had officially snuck through airport security. I can't believe we just pulled that off, Connor said. I don't think I've breathed since we joined the security line. I wasn't worried for a second, Jack said. But then again, I have a lot more faith in you. They turned a corner and Jack, Goldilocks, and Red froze. The sights of all the stores, coffee shops, bars, and restaurants throughout the terminal was almost too much to bear. Oh my, it's like a little kingdom, Red said. What is that heavenly aroma? Goldilocks asked. That's called coffee, Bree said. It's a really big deal in the other world. What's all the places with the moving pictures on the grassy field? Jack asked. That's called a sports bar, Connor informed. That's where people go to watch other people play games. What about a shiny room with all the small bottles and portraits of beautiful but bored women? Oh, sorry. Brrr. What about that shiny room with all the small bottles of portraits with beautiful but bored women? Red asked. That's a perfume store, Bree said. Red was amazed such a place existed. They let commoners wear perfume in this world? Oh my gosh, I have got to see this. The young queen dashed for the perfume store before Bree could grab her. Since they had some time to kill before they boarded the flight, Connor thought it was perfectly fine to let his friends explore the other world's amenities in the airport. He took Goldilocks to the coffee shop and ordered her a vanilla latte. While Goldilocks enjoyed her latte, Connor took Jack to the sports bar. He did his best to describe the rules of football and baseball games being broadcast, but Jack was convinced that he was making it up as he went along. Bree had the exhausting task of supervising Red as she bounced from shop to shop. It was like watching a hyper toddler in a toy store. At 6:30, 15 minutes before boarding, the gang regrouped at gate 26 and took seats. Red proudly showed off all the purchases inside her enormous shopping bag. I must say, what this world lacks in color, it certainly makes up for in merchandise. I found this exquisite leather bag made from an animal called faux. I got this delicious bottle of perfume called Febreze, and I bought this handy mirror with a little electric torch around the frame. And lastly, I couldn't walk away from this colorful pamphlet called Glamorous Magazine. Look, it has articles inside entitled How to Steal Your Man Back from His Ex. I hope it mentions something about magic mirrors. How did you pay for all of this? Connor asked. Pay? Red said as if it were a word from another language. She didn't. I did, Bree said. She would have gotten arrested for shoplifting if I hadn't had my emergency credit card on me. It's maxed out, so the next emergency's on someone else. Don't worry, I got gifts for all of you, Red announced. Connor, I got you this shirt that says I do my own stunts. Classy, right? Jack, I got you the world's greatest grandfather hat. Sorry, they were out of father. I got this adorable stuffed frog in a suit for Hero, so he'll always know what his Uncle Charlie looks like. And Goldilocks, I got you a convenient little contraption called a baby bajorn. Way you carry your child when you can wear him. Thanks, Red. That's so kind. Your thoughtfulness always surprises me. For whatever reason, Goldilocks was speaking much faster than she usually did, and her left eye started to twitch. Good heavens, Goldie, what's happened to you? Red asked. It's called caffeine, Goldie said. I had a latte, a vanilla latte to be exact. It's a brilliant beverage. I was so tired a few months ago, but now I feel invincible. I could fight a whole army with bare hands. Actually, I'm gonna go get some more. Jack gently placed a hand on his wife's shoulder. Sweetheart, maybe you want to take it easy on the caffeine. People are starting to stare. Attention all passengers on Flight 219 to John F. Kennedy International Airport. It's now time to board the aircraft, said a voice over the intercom. Please line up with your boarding passes readily available. Connor, his friends, and all the other passengers formed a line at the gate. They had their tickets scanned and proceeded down the long jetway and boarded the plane. Their flight was filled with business people, families on vacations, and a troop of Boy Scouts. Follow me and I'll show you where to get to our seats, Connor instructed. We're in the back because we booked our tickets so late. Bree and I are in seats 38A and B. Jack and Goldilocks are behind us in 39A and B, and Red is in 48. Wait, where's Red? Connor searched the cabin, but Red was nowhere to be found. The corner of her new purse caught his eye, and he saw that she was seated herself in the first-class cabin. He tried waving to get her attention, but Red was already enjoying a moist towel and reading her copy of Glamorous Magazine. Ma'am, is this your seat? A flight attendant asked her. No, but it'll do just fine, Red said and went back to her magazine. The flight attendant pulled the boarding pass out of Red's hand and read her seat number. I'm sorry, this cabin is reserved for first class only. You need to sit in your assigned seat. Assigned? Red asked like she'd never heard the word before. Which seat is that? The flight attendant pointed to the back of the plane where Red's friends were. I'm supposed to sit back there? Red said in disbelief. I thought those were for elves. No human can feasibly fit into such a small space. Welcome to commercial travel, the flight attendant said. Now, either you move to your seat or I'll have to escort you off the plane. Red gave the flight attendant an impressively dirty look. As the young queen walked through the economy cabin, she held her nose like she was walking through a field of manure. She squeezed into seat 40A behind Jack and Goldilocks. Luckily, no one was sitting in 40B beside her because her dress took up both seats. As the last passengers boarded the aircraft, the constant slamming of the overhead bins started to hurt Hero's ears. The infant began to cry, and everyone in the cabin glared at Jack and Goldilocks. Everyone's looking at us like we've personally offended them, Jack remarked. Well, that's because you brought a baby on the plane, Bree said. They're worried he's going to cry the whole way to New York. Goldilocks was not going to put up with this. She passed Hero to Jack and stood in the aisle where all the passengers could see her. Now wait just one hickory dickory second, she called out. I don't care if you have to listen to my baby cry. 8 days ago, I experienced the worst pain humanly possible by pushing him out of my body. It's something all mothers must endure for the survival of our species. It's natural, it's brave, it's beautiful, and I will not be disrespected for it. Now I suggest you all wipe those foul looks off your faces or you'll be the ones crying all the way to New York. I'd listen to my wife if I were you, Jack added. She's on caffeine. All the passengers quickly diverted their gazes elsewhere. Bree tried to start a round of applause for Goldilocks, but no one joined her. Once his friends had stopped causing problems and settled into their seats, Connor was able to take his first deep breath of the day. He looked around the plane and saw a Boy Scout sitting across the aisle. He was cute, chubby, and obviously took the Boy Scouts very seriously because his whole uniform was covered in pins and badges. The boy eagerly stared down at the map of New York City and was so giddy he could barely sit still. Hi, the scout said when he noticed Connor. My name's Oliver. What's yours? I'm Connor. Are you excited about New York? I've never been so excited in my entire life, Oliver exclaimed. This is actually my first time on a plane. New experiences don't make me nervous, though. This badge is for bravery. Are you doing anything special in New York? Connor asked. I'm going to be the Big Boy and Girl Scouts of America campout, Oliver said happily. This year, they're having it tonight in Central Park. Normally, the city doesn't allow campers in the park, but they're making an exception for us. My family doesn't have much money, so I had to sell thousands of pounds of popcorn to pay for the trip. I sold more than any other scout in the Western region. That's what this badge is for. Congratulations, Connor said. That's a lot of popcorn. How about you? What are you going to New York for? Visiting family. I mean, at least I hope. It's kind of a surprise trip. Neat, Oliver said. Well, it's been nice talking to you, but I better get back to my map. I'm trying to memorize it before we land. I'm really good at navigation. That's what this badge is for. Good luck, Connor said. Have fun camping. The Boy Scout smiled so hard that dimples appeared in his cheeks. He looked back down and became lost in the map of New York City again. Oliver's excitement reminded Connor of Alex on their first trip into the fairy tale world. He remembered how she hogged the map of the kingdoms and they'd fought over directions. The memory made Connor smile for the first time in weeks. But it was odd to think of a time when the land of stories didn't feel like home. Ladies and gentlemen, please lend us your eyes and ears as we go over our safety demonstration, said a voice from the speakers. The flight attendants stood in the aisles and gave instructions on how to buckle their seatbelts, wear safety vests, and pointed to the emergency exits. A cartoon showed the passengers how to properly put on oxygen masks and evacuate the plane in case of emergency. By the time the safety demonstration was done, the plane had departed the gate and was cruising towards the runway. Red reached over Jack and Goldilocks' seat and tapped Bree and Connor on the shoulder. Sorry, but those yellow vests were so ugly that I zoned out. Could you possibly repeat those bits about cabin pressure and water landings? If the cabin loses oxygen, masks will fall from the ceiling so we can breathe, Bree filled her in. And in the event of a water landing, the bottom of the plane will turn into a flotation device. But that's absurd, Red said. Why would we ever end up in water? Can't the driver just steer around it? Suddenly, the plane rocketed down the runway and the force slammed Red into her seat and she screamed. What is happening? She shouted. Relax. We're taking off, Bree said. Taking off what? Into the air. Bree thought this was obvious, but judging from the horrified look on Red's face, it wasn't. This thing goes into the air? She asked in a panic. Yeah, that's why it's called a flight. I wish someone had shared that minor detail before we boarded. Is it too late to get off? Yes, the whole cabin said in unison. As the jet launched into the air, Connor closed his eyes, the subtle movements of the plane quickly rocking him to sleep. Unfortunately, it wasn't a peaceful rest. Connor saw flashes of his sister in his dreams. He couldn't understand her completely, but she was desperately trying to communicate with him. She was trying to warn him that something terrible was going to happen. He needed to stop it before all was lost. He asked her to repeat herself, but it came harder and harder to hear her. As if dying strobe lights were illuminating them, Connor could see less and less of her. A dark, smoky cloud suddenly wrapped around Alex and it pulled her away from him like a giant hand. She was screaming, but there was nothing he could do to help. Alex! Connor cried and awoke with a jolt. Are you okay? Bree asked him. Sorry, bad dream. How long was I out? For about an hour. You've been twitching since takeoff, but I didn't have the heart to wake you up. I can't imagine how exhausted you are. I suppose shaky sleep is better than no sleep at all, he said. You've been up as long as I have. Did you manage any sleep? I tried, but no bueno, she said. There's just too much on my mind. Connor nodded. Yeah, I hear you, he said. Gosh, I'd give anything to think about something besides my sister. I'm starting to worry about her in my dreams. I just had a nightmare where she tried to warn me about something, but I couldn't understand her. I'm sure it's just stress talking. He turned to Bree, hoping to find some reassurance in her eyes, but she had none to spare. Connor, there's something I need to tell you, she said. I was trying to be considerate and didn't want to overwhelm you, but I can't keep it to myself anymore. Although he had no idea what she was talking about, Connor's whole body went tense. Bree was always so calm and cool about everything. She wouldn't be so worked up if it weren't serious. You can tell me, he said. I doubt there's much that'll trouble me more than I'm already troubled. All right, Bree said, and took a deep breath. I wasn't completely honest about my trip to Connecticut. I was visiting family. That part is true, but I lied about the reason that I went there. Connor gulped. Was it another guy? That was the last question Bree expected to come out of his mouth. No, what? Nothing like that, she said, and went straight to her point. When Emmerich and I came back from the fairy tale world after the Grand Armée was defeated, I kept thinking about the portal in Neuschwanstein Castle. The more I thought about its history, the less sense it made. Well, it was a pretty complicated story, Connor said, remembering. In the early 1800s, the Grand Armée forced the Brothers Grimm to lead them into the fairy tale world. The Brothers Grimm took them to Neuschwanstein Castle and activated the portal with the magic panpipe, and the Grand Armée went inside it. What the Armée didn't know was that Mother Goose had bewitched the portal so that anyone without magical blood would be trapped inside for 200 years. Exactly, Bree said. So what I couldn't stop asking myself was how Emmerich and I got through the portal without being trapped. Connor's life had been so complicated since the Grand Armée invaded the fairy tale world, he'd never had a chance to think about the portal at Neuschwanstein Castle. But Bree was absolutely right. She and Emmerich should have been trapped for 2 centuries, just like the Grand Armée. There was only one reason why they weren't. You have magical blood? Connor exclaimed. Yeah, Emmerich's my cousin, so that's where his magic came from. Wait, sorry. Rewind. You have magic in your blood? Connor exclaimed. Emmerich's my cousin, so that's where his magic came from. But what about yours? Oh no. His heart skipped a beat at the thought of the possibility. We aren't related too, are we? No, Bree said. You're forgetting the grossest part about the story. In order for the Brothers Grimm to activate the portal at Neuschwanstein Castle, they also needed magic in their blood. Mother Goose transferred some of her blood into theirs so they could use the panpipe to trap the Grand Armée. And that magic was passed down from generation to generation in the Grimm family. Holy DNA test, Connor said. You're a descendant of the Brothers Grimm? Bree nodded. As you can imagine, I was really eager to prove it. That's why I ran away to my cousin Cornelia's house in Connecticut. I needed to confirm my family's heritage. So that's why Cornelia was so calm about everything she saw in the hospital. Your family's known about magic and fairy tale worlds longer than my sister and I have. Yeah, they know a lot more than that, Bree confessed. Cornelia, Frida, and Wanda are a part of a secret group called the Sisters Grimm. My 5th grade grandmother, Maria Grimm, founded the group in 1852. Knowing that the fairy tale world existed, the women in my family began investigating some magical incidents happening around the world. Magical incidents? Connor asked. Like what? There have been hundreds of things they've covered over the years. Mermaids, skeletons washing ashore in North America, pixies being photographed in Europe, trolls found wandering in the deserts of Australia. You name it. The Sisters Grimm realized creatures from the fairy tale world were crossing into the other world, but they didn't understand how. Your grandmother and the fairies were in charge of all the portals, so how were the creatures getting through without their help? Magic? No. Science. Bree said. The Sisters Grimm discovered that the fairy tale world is just an alternate dimension of the other world. They're like race cars on the same track. However, the other world used to move at such a faster speed than the fairy tale world, so every so often the worlds would briefly overlap or collide. Each time the worlds collided, unbeknownst to the fairies, a portal between the worlds would briefly appear. Over the centuries, thousands of magical creatures have accidentally stumbled through a portal and wound up in the other world. But about 16 years ago, the worlds stopped colliding and the portals stopped appearing altogether. Why? What happened? Bree laughed. Do you really have to ask? Wait, it's because me and my sister were born? Connor exclaimed. Oh, we're children of both worlds, and our birth magically set the other world and the fairy tale world onto similar speeds. Right, Bree said, and race cars moving at similar speeds take a lot longer to overlap. So how long until the worlds collide again? The Sisters Grimm predict it's very soon. They're also worried what happens when they overlap and that it might be permanent. It won't be a portal that appears, but like a bridge that connects the two worlds forever. Do they know where the bridge will appear? Connor asked. Well, they've scientifically mapped everything out, Bree said. Judging by all the locations of past portals, they're expecting the bridge to appear in the middle of New York City. New York City, Connor said. What are the chances? I don't think it's a coincidence, Connor, Bree said. This is a huge interdimensional phenomenon. The Sisters Grimm can't be the only ones who know about it. And if they were able to discover it using science, I imagine someone else has discovered it using magic. If your sister was kidnapped by a witch, there's a reason she took her to New York City, and I bet serious money it has something to do with the worlds colliding. Connor was pushed back into his seat again. Only this time, it wasn't from the force of the aircraft, but from fear. He was wrong. Apparently he was wrong. Something could trouble him more than he had already been troubled.
Attention, ladies and gentlemen,
The flight attendant said over the speakers.
the captain has turned on the seatbelt sign as he expects turbulence ahead. We ask that you stay in your seats because things are about to get very bumpy.
Connor sighed. Yeah, she can say that again. Dun dun dun! Wild. Always wild. What a world. Crazy! I'm crazy. It was fun. It is crazy. I think the best part so far was Jack's hair plugs comment. Very funny. Very entertaining. I'm gonna go and pack orders, take them to the post office. There's a lot of slime orders to pack. I love Sundays, a good break for you, but I know. Can we get a supplemental chapter described? I know, right? Maybe there is. Maybe there is one in the other book that Liz bought me for Christmas. It's like a encyclopedia of everything in the Land of Stories. It's gonna be fun. So yeah, if you are waiting on a DM from me for slimes or anything like that, it should be coming today. I don't know. Q&A live later for Patreon. I have the hiccups. Find my book. It's called The Prince of Oregon. See you guys later. Have a great day. Have a great Saturday.